The snow was falling gently outside, covering the streets in a soft white blanket. Inside, the house felt strangely cold, not because of the weather, but because of her words. I could feel it before she even said it. The tension, the silence, the way she avoided looking at me directly. Something was wrong, something was coming, and I knew it had nothing to do with Christmas cheer. After Christmas, she said, almost in passing. Her voice was calm, but her eyes told a different story. "You'll have to leave." I froze. My mind raced, refusing to accept what I had just heard. Leave? After all these years? After everything? I tried to speak, but the words caught in my throat. "After Christmas?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, trying not to let the panic show. She looked away, busying herself with the ornaments on the tree as if nothing had happened. But I could feel it in my bones. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't some passing thought. She had planned this. And for what? I sat there, staring at the flickering lights, the stockings, the warmth of a home I had called my own for decades. How could someone I had trusted, someone I had shared my life with, plan something so cruel, so sudden? And yet, I knew I had to act. I couldn't just wait, helpless, for her to decide my fate. Little did she know, the shock of her life was about to come. But first, I had to survive the Christmas she had planned for me.
People think promotions are just given, that they're handed out to whoever the boss likes best. But for me, it was never about luck or favoritism or sweet talk. It was about work. Hard, endless work. For 2 years, I lived in that office. When the lights went out and the janitors locked the doors, I was still there. My desk piled high with reports, my fingers bruised from typing, my eyes burning from spreadsheets that never seemed to end. Everyone else left at 6. I stayed until midnight. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to prove that I deserved it. I carried teams that didn't want to be carried. I solved problems others gave up on. I built strategies that turned losses into profits. And I did it quietly, never asking for applause, never needing recognition. Because I believed one thing: the truth always comes to light, but the truth has enemies. And in my office, the biggest enemy wore a perfectly tailored suit and a smile that fooled almost everyone. He would nod in meetings, pretending to respect me, and then dismiss my ideas behind closed doors. He would take credit for my small victories, brushing my name aside like I was nothing. I told myself it didn't matter, that when the promotion came, my results would speak for me. Still, the whispers started. A coworker pulled me aside one evening, her eyes nervous, her voice barely above a whisper. "He's planning something. He's telling people the project is his." I wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it. But deep down, I knew it was possible. He had done it before on smaller scales. And now, with millions of dollars tied to this project, with the CEO's eyes fixed on it, he would stop at nothing. The thought kept me awake at night. What if my sleepless hours, my sacrifices, my dreams, were about to be stolen in broad daylight? And yet, even in that fear, something else grew inside me. Not despair, not weakness, but fire. If he was planning to erase me, then I would make sure my name was carved into stone where no one could erase it. I remember the moment it all became clear. I walked past his office late one evening, and I heard him. He was practicing his speech, repeating lines, bragging about numbers, strategies, and achievements that weren't his. Every word that came out of his mouth was mine. Word for word, the report I had written, the ideas I had built from scratch, the strategy I had perfected through countless nights. And he was standing there, rehearsing them like they belonged to him. I froze. My hands clenched at my sides, my stomach turned, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to scream or laugh. I stepped back, hoping maybe I was imagining it. But then I saw it right there on his desk. My report, my work, the hours, the research, the sleepless nights. Except one thing was missing. My name. Where it should have been, his was printed neatly at the top, as if I had never existed. Like I was just a ghost, a shadow doing his dirty work while he stood in the light. I felt this wave of heat rush through me, like my blood was boiling under my skin. He hadn't just stolen my promotion, he had stolen me. My identity, my effort, my pride, and the worst part, he was proud of it. He actually believed he could get away with it. I could see it in the way he carried himself, the way he smiled at his own reflection in the glass window, like he was already the king of the world. He thought no one would ever know the truth. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't break down. I didn't even get angry the way I thought I would. Instead, I went silent, cold, focused, because in that moment, I realized something important. He had just shown me exactly how far he was willing to go, and exactly how I was going to destroy him. Most people expect an explosion when they're betrayed. A scream, a confrontation, maybe even tears. But I didn't give him that satisfaction. No, I stayed silent. I smiled when I had to, nodded politely when he spoke, and walked out of rooms like nothing had changed. But inside, a storm was brewing silent, precise, unstoppable. That night, while the city slept, I opened my laptop. One by one, I began pulling the strings he thought he had cut, the drafts I had saved, the original presentations with my name on them, the late-night emails I had sent, the timestamps that proved who had done the work and when. Every file, every message, every note was another nail in the coffin he didn't even know was being built for him. My fingers clicked across the keyboard, steady and calm, but my heart was sharp as a blade. I wasn't just gathering evidence. I was weaving a story. The truth. A truth so undeniable that when the time came, there would be no excuses. No lies strong enough to hold it back. Each folder I created was a piece of the puzzle, each screenshot a weapon. And as the hours passed, I felt something strange. Not anger anymore, but control. The power was shifting, slowly, silently, from him back to me. He thought he had humiliated me. He thought I was powerless. But every click of that mouse tightened the trap around him. And I kept asking myself the same question. Would I let him keep the spotlight, or would I drag him into the shadows with the truth? Deep down, I already knew my answer.
Like 1,000 diamonds, but inside the air was thick with tension. She called me into the living room, her voice calm, almost rehearsed. My heart pounded in my chest as I approached. I could see it in her eyes, the cold certainty that this moment had been planned for weeks. "I've thought about this carefully," she began, folding her hands, her tone deceptively gentle. "After Christmas, you'll have to leave." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. My mind reeled. 30 years, gone in a single sentence. All the memories, all the sacrifices, all the loyalty, discarded like trash. I couldn't believe it. Leave? After all these years? My voice shook, a mix of anger and disbelief. Is this really how it ends? She didn't flinch. Her smile was sharp, almost triumphant. It's best for both of us, she said. You'll understand in time. I looked around the room, the ornaments, the stockings, the flickering tree lights, and a wave of heartbreak washed over me. I had built this life, this home, this world, and she was ready to erase me from it. But beneath the heartbreak, anger began to rise. Betrayal cut deep, but it also sparked a fire within me. I realized something crucial in that moment. I wouldn't leave quietly. Not now. Not ever. What if I don't go? I asked, my voice steady now, controlled. What then? Her eyes narrowed. She hadn't expected resistance. She hadn't anticipated that I might fight back, not with anger, but with cunning. In that silence, a plan began to take shape in my mind, a plan not of violence, but of clever, inevitable justice, a plan that would make her rethink every choice she had made. After she left the room, I didn't follow. I stood there, chest tight, listening to the soft crackle of the Christmas lights. Outside, the world looked peaceful. Inside, my world had been rearranged by a single sentence. At first, I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out the part of me that trusted. But hollow turned to heat. Hurt turned to anger. Anger sharpened into focus. I had lived long enough to know that fury without a plan is only noise. So I sat down and thought. I didn't want to hurt her the way she hurt me. That would lower me. Instead, I wanted something cleaner. Truth exposed, choices shown for what they were, consequences delivered in a way that left no room for denial. I began quietly. No loud declarations, no dramatic speeches. I observed, I listened, I learned. The small betrayals had left traces. A rushed phone call, a furtive meeting at the grocery store, unfamiliar names whispered and then erased. I kept a small notebook, old habit from earlier years, writing down times, dates, odd details. A neighbor's comment about her new plans, a slip of paper with an address, a receipt with a strange shop name. My mind worked like a clock, silent, precise. I mapped her routine. I watched when she left, where she lingered, who she met. I did not follow in the way a desperate man follows. I watched from the light inside my home, the home she wanted to throw me out of. I kept my calm face, my patient voice. People who think they're winning are careless. They reveal themselves. Piece by piece, the picture formed. She had been meeting someone who promised a new life, a cleaner house, a future without the burdens of the last 30 years. She had even begun arrangements, appointments, transfers, calls that hinted at legal steps. Everything was being handled with quiet efficiency, as if she had practiced the moment of my leaving until it felt painless. But she hadn't counted on one thing: memory and record, and the stubborn honesty of a man who refuses to vanish without showing the truth. I started collecting gentle proof, not to humiliate, but to make things clear. Photographs, dates, a few careful recordings, short, legal, simple. Not to blackmail, but to reveal. If she wanted to play the part of the calm planner, I would give her the mirror. There was another, deeper plan brewing, one that would not only expose her, but also protect me. I quietly spoke with an old friend, a lawyer I had once helped years ago when he needed a place to stay. I asked for advice, not to press charges, but to know my rights. The law can be slow, but a paper trail is honest. It remembers. At night, as the house slept, I wrote letters, not to the world, but to myself. I wrote down what I deserved: fairness, respect, the dignity of being heard. I wrote the truth of every year, every effort, every sacrifice. I prepared a simple list of what belonged to me and what could be negotiated if necessary. I would not be blindsided. And then the twist came, not a wild act of revenge, but a move so subtle it would sting precisely because it was just. I arranged for a small private lunch with her closest friend, someone who had no reason to lie. I did not confront. I listened. I let the friend speak freely. Piece by piece, that friend filled in gaps, promises her new partner had made, dates planned, and a bank transfer that would begin in January. Armed with that, I sent a single, calm message, not public, not dramatic, just a note to her and her friend. If you plan to change our lives, I deserve a conversation. Let's talk on January 2nd. Until then, no changes. It was audacious in its quietness. It forced her hand without loud accusations. It called for clarity. What I was really planning wasn't revenge of fire and fury. It was a reveal, a way to show her how her choices echoed, how her neat little plan would look when viewed through the light of truth and memory. I wanted her to see herself from the outside, to feel the weight of putting 30 years on the shelf like old clothes. And yet, even as I moved pieces into place, a strange tenderness remained. I was angry, yes, but I also remembered the good. I remembered why we had shared a life. That complexity made the plan purer. It wasn't cruelty. It was justice dressed in patience. The morning after Christmas arrived like any other. Sunlight poured through the windows, illuminating the ornaments still twinkling on the tree. The house smelled faintly of pine and cookies, but the air felt charged, heavy with expectation. She moved through the rooms, humming softly, completely unaware of the storm quietly building around her. She expected the usual: obedience, silence, compliance. She thought that after Christmas, I would simply pack my things and disappear, leaving behind the life I had built. I watched her from the living room, sitting in the chair I had claimed for decades. Calm, collected, a quiet smile tugging at the corner of my lips. Patience had been my ally, and it had brought me to this exact moment. The first sign of unease flashed across her face when she noticed the small stack of letters on the coffee table. Simple envelopes, neatly arranged, addressed to her. She picked up one, then another, reading quickly. Her humming stopped. The color drained from her cheeks. What are these?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly, betraying the confidence she had worn like armor for weeks. I didn't answer immediately. I let her read. I let her piece together the truth, let her see the quiet evidence of every plan she had made, every secret meeting, every attempt to push me out without consequence. Each envelope revealed something small, precise, undeniable. Her hands shook as she placed them down. How did you know?" she whispered. I watched. I listened. I remembered, I said softly, calm but firm. "You planned to erase 30 years of my life like it was nothing. You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought I would leave quietly. But you underestimated me." Her eyes filled with shock, disbelief, even a trace of guilt. The mask she had worn for so long was gone, leaving her exposed to the weight of her own choices. I didn't shout. I didn't scream. I simply sat, letting her process, letting her realize that her plan had failed, not because of anger, but because of quiet, careful observation and patience. "I'm not leaving," I said finally. "Not today. Not ever, unless we resolve this." Honestly, her lips parted, searching for words, but none came. The room was silent, save for the faint flicker of the Christmas lights. She had expected compliance, but instead found clarity, evidence, and quiet justice. For the first time, she saw me, not as someone to be pushed aside, but as a man who refused to vanish quietly. She sat there, frozen, staring at the stack of letters, receipts, and quietly collected evidence. Her carefully constructed plan, the one she had polished in whispers and secret calls, was exposed in the quietest, most unassuming way possible. Her shock was tangible. The confident mask she had worn for weeks shattered, replaced by disbelief, guilt, and a dawning fear. She had expected resistance, maybe anger, but never this, never the calm, patient dismantling of her intentions. I watched her, my own heart steady, knowing that vengeance did not always roar. Sometimes it whispered, quietly unraveling the threads of betrayal until the truth stood plain and undeniable. Her voice finally broke the silence, trembling, sharp, almost apologetic. I didn't think you'd... How did you... I let her struggle, let her stumble through the words she had prepared for herself in so many imagined confrontations. I only said one thing. I trusted you. I gave everything I had, and still, you planned to erase me. Her shoulders sagged. She could not defend her actions. The weight of what she had tried to do pressed down on her, and in that weight, the realization hit. She had miscalculated. She had underestimated the man she thought she knew. Tears welled in her eyes, not from me, but from the truth she could no longer deny. For the first time, she saw the consequences of betrayal, not loud, not vengeful, but inevitable, undeniable, and quietly devastating. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to yell. My calm, measured presence, the evidence laid bare, and the unwavering knowledge of my worth did the work for me. In that room, the shock wasn't just about being exposed. It was about seeing the life she thought she could control slipping from her hands. The reality of her choices struck like a lightning bolt, and all the plans she had made crumbled silently, without fanfare, without noise, just truth. And in that truth, I found peace. Not revenge, not triumph over cruelty, but clarity. She would never forget this moment. The shock of her life would linger, a reminder that betrayal has consequences, and patience can be more powerful than rage. The days after the reveal were quiet, almost eerily calm. The house felt different, not because the furniture moved or the decorations changed, but because the air had shifted. The tension had lifted, replaced by a fragile, newfound respect. She no longer spoke with the casual cruelty of before. Her eyes, once sharp with certainty, now carried a trace of humility. And I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Not vengeance, not triumph over betrayal, but a quiet, steady sense of having preserved my dignity. I spent those days reflecting on the years I had given, the sacrifices made, and the loyalty shown. And I realized something crucial. Life isn't about the people who try to hurt you, or the moments of betrayal. It's about knowing your worth, standing firm, and trusting in your own resilience. I started small, reclaiming my spaces in the house, the chair by the window, the corner of the living room where sunlight hit the floor just right. I lit the fireplace one evening and sat, letting the warmth remind me that this home, my home, was more than bricks and wood. It was years of life, love, and persistence. And her? She learned her lesson, quietly, painfully, without spectacle. She understood now that trust and loyalty are not commodities to be discarded, that betrayal has consequences beyond the moment, and that the person she underestimated had a quiet strength she could never erase. I looked out the window one evening, the last of the Christmas lights twinkling faintly in the dark. I smiled, not out of triumph, but relief. Life would continue, memories would remain, and I had survived the storm she had brought into my world. Sometimes justice doesn't scream. Sometimes it arrives gently, quietly, and leaves a mark far deeper than anger ever could. And as I sat there in the warm glow of my home, I realized something else. Hope endures, loyalty matters, and no matter what comes, no one can take the years you have lived, the love you have given, or the strength you have earned. As the house settled into a quiet evening, I sat back in my chair, reflecting on everything that had happened. The snow outside shimmered under the moonlight, and the Christmas lights inside cast gentle shadows on the walls, a reminder of the life I had fought to protect. I looked directly into the camera, or rather, into the hearts of those listening. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? I asked softly. Have you ever given your all, only to be pushed aside? The answer, I knew, wasn't simple. Life has a way of testing us, of presenting challenges we never expect. But here's the truth I discovered. Patience, quiet observation, and inner strength can be more powerful than anger, more effective than revenge. I wanted her to see the consequences of her choices, but I also wanted to remind myself, and anyone listening, that no one can erase your life or your worth without your consent. That even in the face of betrayal, dignity, courage, and careful planning can turn the tables. So I ask you now, if someone tried to throw you out, erase your years, or ignore your loyalty, how would you respond? With rage, with silence, or with a quiet strategy that ensures justice without losing yourself? Sometimes the greatest victories are invisible, unfolding behind calm eyes and measured words. Sometimes the shock of a lifetime comes not with a scream, but with a moment of undeniable truth. Remember this: no matter what they plan, no matter how sure they are of their power, your strength is in what they cannot see, the patience, the resolve, the life you refuse to surrender.